Here it is. Here is how Baylor upsets TCU on Saturday and saves their season.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, Bears fans, to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of the Rogue Media Network. Joining me from ESPN and the Rogue Media Network and inside the 12, because it's Friday, is Pete Sousa. And boy, is he going to tell you about how this Baylor football season does not need saving.
I didn't know the season was man overboard.
I knew when I had you in the studio here, I was like, this is the way I got to go with it.
It's funny because I do the same thing. Like on my show, you'll have somebody on and you'll be like, I need to get some traction on this. So you'll juice up the title a little bit.
Yeah.
And I always worry that the person that I interviewed will see that I juiced up the title, even though it's never anything derogatory about them. But then you're like, what the heck? But
I get the exact thing. Like I'm waiting for a text afterwards of like, I'm not coming on anymore because you did this. And it's like, it hasn't happened yet. Well, not really happened yet, but I want to get Pete a little titillated as we go into the show. We're going to talk about how Baylor beats TCU on Saturday. We will also look at the preseason basketball poll in the last segment, and sandwiched in between, since we've got Pete here on Inside the 12, Inside the 12, we will talk about the other big games around our great conference this weekend. Will it be Texas Tech's first loss? Ooh, Pete's got some hot takes on that one. It's all coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. So, Pete, let me just real quick. This is a great quarterback matchup. We've talked about it all week. Sawyer Robertson, Josh Hoover. Like I've talked about it to death. But when you look at these two teams overall, they probably feel like they could have another win on the schedule, but both in pretty good spots here. I would suffice to say that whomever wins this game, are they in the Big 12 title race still?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. But it's critical. I mean, I hate it, but like again, we're talking Big 12 title race. You lose this game if you're either one of those teams, you're way on the outside looking in. Because we're talking about getting to the championship. And if you get to the championship, you're a game away from the college football playoff, which is why the Big 12 is such an interesting conference this year because, there's a lot of teams in contention to make the college football playoff out of the Big 12 right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And, there's still a world where two teams are getting in. I know a lot of the country doesn't love that idea of two Big 12 teams getting in, but it is still very much in play. I mean, you got two undefeated teams still going, lest we forget. We'll talk about one coming up in the second segment. But, Pete, looking at this game, rivalry, okay? Baylor coming off a bye week. TCU coming off a disappointing loss. What do you like about this game from the Baylor standpoint?
Well, I like Baylor's ability. I think we always, and I get it because there's been so much success passing the football, but I think I like Baylor's running game a lot. I think I like Bryson Washington with the extra week of rest. Dave Aranda 4-1 coming off a bye. This team
That's a good stat, by the way.
Yeah.
Good stat. I didn't realize that. Shame on me.
Yeah.
It helped that it happened twice last year. But 4-1 off a bye. Dave Aranda, don't let him cook.
Yeah, he's like the college football version of Andy Reid in the early 2000s. That was like Andy's big thing.
Yeah.
You didn't want to bump into him after a bye. But no, I think that getting Bryson Washington parked in the garage for a week or so is really helpful for this team because the way he runs, and Dave always calls it so violent, but he really does run violent. And there's no more 1-2 punch with Dawson Prendergast at all this year. And although Knighton is exciting, and it's just Washington's the bell cow, and I think that's what I like about this game is Baylor's ability to run the football. And I think they could be reinvigorated on the ground.
Yeah,
so I like that a lot.
Michael Turner, by the way, one of the guys behind him in Knighton, questionable in this game. He's the only one listeners questionable for Baylor. But obviously with Bryson, 4 touchdowns against TCU last year, like in a game of this magnitude, he is going to get the lion's share of the carries. Dealing with, it sounds like a painful injury from what I have heard inside that locker room. It is a painful thing that Bryson Washington is going through right now, but you wouldn't really know it. He continues to produce. Do want to look at this other one on the injury report, Pete, and we don't need to get into PFF grades or anything like that. But Tevin Williams has had a nice bounce back year coming off of an injury for a unit that really still hasn't been very good. Tevin Williams had a great game against Auburn, had Jordan Tyson locked up for, as I said, 55 minutes of that game, which is unfortunate that it kind of came to Jordan Tyson became Jordan Tyson at the end of it. But you face Eric McAllister, who is the leading receiver in the Big 12, and Tevin Williams is doubtful. Could that be a matchup that TCU could exploit in this one?
Yeah, 1,000%, especially when you're on your heels trying to stop Josh Hoover. And if you're down one more defensive back or one key defensive back, and I totally agree with you. Like, Williams has been, I called Baylor's actual last game, the Kansas State game. And that was a guy who I was saying his name a lot, and not just in pass coverage, but in run support as well. Somebody who is like playing with a lot of confidence, right? Which you can get beat, like playing with that kind of confidence, but it's the kind of confidence that Baylor defense needs, and it's contagious at times. So that's huge. If he doesn't play, that's a very big deal in a game that I think, Josh Hoover is like that offense is fast and free, right? But like the past couple games, it's been like fast and loose. Like it's almost one of those deals where if you sit still and let Josh Hoover try to beat you, it's quite possible you will come away with a turnover or two, right? Because of just the Pat Mahomes-esque attributes that he has, but that will get him into trouble, like throwing from all over the place in different angles. There's a chance that happens, and that's with or without Tevin Williams. So that could be something that the Baylor defense could receive this week, like a couple of gifts from a quarterback who's just trying to do too much.
And do you think that's why Josh Hoover probably doesn't get like a lot of the national spotlight? He's not in Heisman conversations because he had a pretty damn good year last year, but TCU, no running game, not much of a defense. They go 8-4, and it's kind of the same thing where it's like, can we keep it all in front of us and let Josh Hoover beat us all day? Like, is that why you think he's not held in that highest echelon, even though the stats are there?
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's weird. They had 9 wins last year.
Yeah. 9 with the bowl win. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, you don't think, like every time I hear that, I'm surprised. And so that kind of feeds into your point. I don't know. Should he be getting more respect? I think a lot of times these guys, they come in and it's like the Arch Manning thing with a lot of hype, and they're able to capitalize on that hype and just continue to climb and, get that acclaim publicly. When there's guys who have to kind of come out of nowhere, even like a Sawyer Robertson, like, as much as we want to say Sawyer's great, and we see that here on a up close and personal level, nationally, he's the guy that couldn't get the starting job for like 3 years.
Yep.
So,
yep.
And I think that some of those guys, like Sawyer Robertson, like Josh Hoover, suffer from that a little bit, almost like they're making up for lost time. Upon saying that, I think, you ready for this? Like, this is my excitement about this game that Baylor fans should be pumped about. If there's a game that Sawyer Robertson can have that can be a signature Heisman Trophy game for him, it's this one, because I think that there'll be a lot of points. TCU's defense is not amazing. The game is noon Eastern on ESPN 2, so you'll have a pretty good audience. And I think that if he can throw for like 500 yards and Baylor can win, 45-24, I think you got to start looking at him in the Heisman race for 2 reasons. Well, for 3 reasons. One, because once the Baylor PR people, who do an amazing job, I truly mean that, once they get that going, like they want to base it around the fact that he's an awesome dude. And
we're starting to see that this week. He went to the podium this week. We're starting to see the seeds of it.
Yes.
Yep.
So, I mean, that is like, once, if you just you can let that guy out there and let him cook, dude. And then you have his numbers, and then you have the fact that nobody else seems to want to win the Heisman Trophy right now. So it's like there's 3 things that are feeding into this becoming a real opportunity for Sawyer Robertson on Saturday. I really do think that. But Baylor's got to win the game, obviously, and he's got to have big numbers. But if they win and he has big numbers, all of a sudden you're 5-2, right? And you're at top of the Big 12. Okay, now we're talking.
It's kind of the opposite of what A&M did when Johnny Football was in the Heisman race. They didn't let him talk at all. They didn't.
Well, yeah.
They didn't. They did not.
Yeah.
That's what's so funny to look back on was people rooted for this is off topic, but they rooted for Johnny Manziel because we didn't know much about him. We didn't know anything about him. He was this mystery guy that didn't last for long.
That's a great call, dude, about him not talking to the media. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, they did. He was a little immature, if you can believe that. He was a little immature. Yeah, this is definitely a chance for Sawyer Robertson. And before we get to the other Big 12 games of the week, Pete, real quick, maybe it is what you just talked about, but the X factor in this game, whether it's a player, a kind of strategy, whether it's Dave Aranda's record after a bye week, why does Baylor come away with this one?
I think Baylor comes away with this win because they're better. And I think that the matchups up front, Baylor, you talked about the 4 touchdowns last year for Bryson Washington. Baylor, their offensive line up front, they kicked that TCU front in the teeth last year. Mm-hmm. Now, I know there's been a lot of personnel changes on the TCU side, but I mean, that was the game, that Saturday night game, where the entire line of scrimmage just moved downfield, right?
Yeah, remember they had that play. They're setting up the field goal. They ran it. They ran it with the last play, and it was like 8 yards.
And that was a total flex.
They knew exactly what they were going to do.
That was a total flex, and because they knew they would get 8 yards. And so that's, I think, a real advantage for Baylor, and I think that's why at the end of all this, they will win the war up front. And so, you know, if I'm wrong, that it's not going to be a fireworks display and Sawyer doesn't have this huge game, I still think Baylor can win ugly if they have to as well. That's great. That's a real attribute for Baylor. And a hope I have for Baylor, they continue to play. You know, that Jacob Redding pick 6, you know, again, I called that and I said, the guy I was calling the game with was like, pressure coming. And I was like, I literally said out loud, unbridled, it's about time. And I meant that because your defense is kind of paper mache. You're Dave Aranda. You got some athletes. Like,
send the house.
Send the pressure. Yeah. Yes, they should do that more often if they continue to struggle.
Hey, as one of your heroes once said, just win, baby. I don't care if it's ugly or pretty or what. Let's take a look at some of the other big games around the Big 12 after you guys give your score predictions in the comment section below. We'll do it after this short break on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode of Locked On Baylor is brought to you by our good friends over at DoorDash, who will certainly be helping me out this weekend. They always do. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. Baylor's coming off a bye week, so I got to go back 2 weeks, and I'll go with what Pete Sousa was talking about. Jacob Redding, man, delivered in such a big way. That fourth quarter pick 6 puts Baylor up basically for good, and it's the dream moment for him and one of the biggest plays of Baylor's season. Just like Jacob Redding delivered for the Bears, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. You stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period is running through November the 18th. Today's episode is also brought to you by Supply House. You know them, you love them, and we love that they are sponsoring with the Locked On Podcast Network. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. I'm talking over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. And their real-time inventory and honest lead times keeps you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Back to it on Locked On Baylor. Pete Sousa of Inside the 12, ESPN, the Pete Sousa Show on Rogue Media Sports Network, joining the program today on this Friday. And we bring Pete on mainly because he still knows a lot about Baylor, but also because he's got a finger on the pulse of this entire conference. And Pete, I look at the schedule this week. I think this is the best Big 12 schedule we've had so far.
I agree.
Especially starting with that rivalry, Baylor TCU, to kick off your day. One of the most underrated rivalries in the country, and also have some conference championship implications. But the talk is going to be about another rivalry, and that is Utah and BYU. The Utes coming off a big victory against a Levitless Arizona State. BYU still sitting there waiting for the nation to realize how good they've been so far with Bear Bachmeier. It's in Provo. This was a heck of a game last year that BYU pulled out right at the end. What is the opportunity for the Cougars in this one? What kind of statement can they send?
Well, it all comes down to Bear Bachmeier, in my opinion. I mean, he's got to have a big game, almost like a coming-of-age game. But, Aaron Roderick and that BYU offense, they can't get away from what has made them so good this year, and that has been running the ball with Bear Bachmeier a lot. Mm-hmm. So I think you'll see him, have some design runs early to kind of really get him in a flow. I think that's been part of his success this year, is to find a rhythm early through running the football, build some confidence, and throw it. I think if he's going to have a lot of confidence throwing the ball, it's going to come off of some of those shorter passes that turn into longer gains. We saw a couple of those last week, one of them with Parker Kingston. It was a little further down the field, but he's not going to take the top off, per se, right? He's going to beat you with throws 15, 20 yards down the field, and then receivers can do the rest. I think there is a real opportunity here for BYU to make a statement, but I also think Utah is probably the most disrespected team. I hate to say that because it sounds silly, disrespected. But let's say
you can say it. We say that word a lot on this show.
Yeah, but I think underrated team in the Big 12 because they got smacked around at TCU or Texas Tech early on, and that was such a big game that I think people were like, oh, okay, forget it. Utah's
Yep, they're done. Yep.
Yeah, which we didn't realize that maybe Texas Tech is just awesome because the way that Utah dismantled Arizona State last week, even though they didn't have Sam Levitt, says a lot about who this Utah team is. And I still look at last year as just kind of a weird outlier for Utah. And I think this is just a great program overall. And I think that they're kind of waiting to have their own kind of coming out, and that could be for them on Saturday night.
Well, I'll tell you what extra comes from the BYU side, too. Obviously, this is like their first, I don't want to say first real opponent. Okay, they've played 3 conference games, but definitely the biggest opponent on their schedule so far. It should be the last game of the season for BYU, but we digress. The next 2 after that, at Iowa State and at Texas Tech. So this becomes a big time game. If you win, then the country is looking at those next 2 games, which could still yet be ranked matchups. I don't know if Iowa State gets back into the rankings that quickly. But then after your bye, you go at Tech. And so it really sets up for BYU. If they prove they can beat a team as good as Utah, albeit at home, and the next 2 are on the road. But that proves that, okay, they're absolutely in this race too. And that could make BYU Texas Tech on November 8th the game on the college football schedule, potentially. Let's talk about Texas Tech, shall we? Because they get Arizona State. You and I have both been cautiously high on Arizona State this year. Yeah. I think we both agreed a couple of weeks ago that, even with Sam Levitt in there, the passing game is just not the same. They're not the same kind of offense. They've found ways to beat Baylor and TCU in basically the same way. Those were still 2 big wins. They get just smacked around last week without Sam Levitt. Looks like he is going to be back in this game. As much as we talk about Baylor TCU, loser is totally out of the picture. Is Arizona State still in the picture even if they get a home win against the mighty Tech?
Yeah, I mean, if they can beat Texas Tech at home, they're certainly still in the picture with a chance to scratch and claw their way to take the back door into Arlington. But I don't think that's going to happen. First of all, I don't know where Sam Levitt's going to be, as far as performance-wise. And if you consider
even if this was 3 weeks ago, would you feel confident?
No, I wouldn't. Yeah. And now I feel the one thing that Arizona State really has going for them is you got Texas Tech playing far away from home, and being a home dog, and it's just a dangerous game for Tech. This is a team that went to the Big 12 championship last year. And so you have that kind of mojo. But I think with Sam Levitt not at 100%, I believe that 7.5 point spread is what it is for a reason. And I think that if Sam Levitt, even if he is at 100%, I still think Texas Tech finds a way to win. They are so good up front defensively. I think we're done saying, we're not talking about Texas Tech's defense. Yes, we are. And yes, they're awesome.
We are. Yeah.
And, yeah. And it's like, okay, that's it. It's different than the past. We get it. But these guys are good. And I love what, Joey McGuire says. I love the way they're working it, dude. Like last week, he was like, hey, if you want to be, or maybe it was this week, if you're a big guy, you want to sit first class, like come play for Texas Tech because we got spots for you up there. Like that's cool. And I enjoy that, what they're doing at Texas Tech, like everything is West Texas. It's fun. It's kind of a cool ride for them.
Yeah. I know there are a lot of Baylor fans that don't love, a lot of college football fans that don't love the way they go about it, but your
Baylor
program would take that way. And
that Texas Tech isn't on their schedule this year.
That sucks, doesn't it? If you're going to do it for a year, maybe this is the one because Tech is that good. But
it sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks. And I said that when the schedule came out, last February. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks. But again, it's kind of a good break for Baylor because they are really good this year.
Yeah. This is the year where Tech can put a lot of stuff to bed. And I'm not saying like, oh man, they need to be in the top 5 if they beat Arizona State, but that would again send a message, and they deserve to be at least a top 10 football team right now. Like they are that good. If we can base it off of talent in the SEC and the Big Ten, there's no reason we shouldn't be able to do it in the Big 12. And Tech has got the talent and they've got the record so far. I will tell you this, Pete, Baylor is going to play Tech this year, but they're going to do it on the hardwood. It is closer than you think. The Big 12 preseason poll for men's basketball has come out, and we've got some reactions to it. It's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, we've got to be Rougiette ready when it comes to this college football Saturday and indeed the entire college basketball season. You've got to be ready for it. Okay, Rougiette, baby. Go long. What do you do when you have a bald eagle standing on the top of a silverback gorilla and riding a T-Rex? Confidence, pure confidence. That's what you get. And if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Go Long. That's exactly where it comes in. You've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking to get beyond that, it's time to meet Rougiette. It's not just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for your confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours, so that's confidence all day, all night, even into the next day. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rougiette.com. That's Rugiet.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off your first order. Rougiette.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Make sure to use that code so they know that we sent you. It's also brought to you by FanDuel on today's episode. The NFL season is here, and we have an offer that you absolutely do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. What I love about FanDuel, that versatility, my brothers and sisters. It gives me so many ways to play. I build parlays, I try player props, even follow the live lines during the game. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Back here on Locked On Baylor, how about this?
Yeah, huh? I mean,
you like that?
You didn't think I'm going to let that slide. What in the what?
Look, you see that the lights are on in my studio? You see that the lights are on in my studio? Rougiette's the reason why, okay? It is one of the reasons why the lights are on in the studio.
Yeah.
How about a heel turn, Pete? Let's Rougiette go long into basketball season if we can.
Please.
Because the Big 12 preseason coaches poll is out. I'll put it up there. I don't know how much of it. Yeah, you can see the whole thing. There we go. And Baylor sits there at number 7. And I saw Baylor Athletics put out a tweet that said, they used a little meme. We're going to use this hate fuel here. And I'm thinking, guys, where did you expect to be? Yeah. I know I've been accused by Pete Sousa that I'm a little too negative on this show, but where did you expect to be replacing your entire roster? Pete, if Baylor finishes 7th in the Big 12 this year with this new roster, is that a failure?
I don't know if it's a failure, but I mean,
You're not throwing a celebration. You're not popping champagne.
I mean,
but 7th gets you into the tournament.
Look, I just want to bring some clarity to the situation. You've got Houston, you have Texas Tech, you have BYU, Arizona, and Iowa State, all preseason top 20.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Kansas is the team outside of that group that's not top 20, and then you have Baylor. So, explain to me,
who do you want it to be ahead of?
Yeah, and I think that. So, no, I don't think finishing 7th in the Big 12 would be a failure. It's a really, really good conference, maybe the best in college basketball. I also wouldn't be knocked on my ass if Baylor were to finish top 3. I mean, because that's college basketball for you.
Yeah.
And we don't know. If there's one thing we know about college sports now is that we don't know jack heading into the season. And more than ever, these preseason polls are complete rubbish. We saw it in college football. No, and we're seeing it now with college basketball.
You're right.
Really, who cares? And especially in a situation where you're talking about with college basketball, it's the NCAA tournament. There's 68 teams. If you can't find a way to get into that dance, then go kick rocks. But the top 25 rankings don't have these great implications like they would in college football. If you want to tweet about it to get some motivation, that's wonderful. But I mean, AJ DeBonsa, I know, amazing, everything we've heard. But I haven't seen the kid play 1 second of college basketball.
Yeah.
And the same thing could be said for Tunde Yesufu at Baylor, because I've heard amazing things about him. We don't know, dude. And now we don't know more than ever. And the people who tell you that they do know are more full of crap than ever.
You're right. You're exactly right. Especially
This is not 1985 when I know that Georgetown starting 5 is returning with Patrick Ewing.
That's a good point of this turnover too, especially obviously Baylor on the drastic end of that spectrum, right? But nobody brings more than 3 starters back. If you're bringing 3 starters back, you're in a good spot. I know there's a couple teams and yeah, college football, you're almost married to that for most of the season, whether that's right or not. But that preseason poll carries a lot of weight the rest of the season. If you pull a Penn State, there's no getting back. But that does you do base it off a lot of that basketball. It is a different game, and that's kind of the point I wanted to get to. I just
don't get riled up about it. I just don't. I mean,
I couldn't for this one. I couldn't. Yeah, sometimes I do, as you know, Pete. But
yeah, I know, and yeah, I just don't. I don't. I think that Baylor's right where they should be.
And by the way, if Baylor's at 7. No, I'm not saying they're bad. I don't think they'll ever be bad under Scott Drew. But Baylor at 7, with replacing an entire roster, I think that just goes to show you, we don't know. There's 9 teams behind him, some who do have players coming back. It is a crapshoot. But I'm cautiously optimistic about this Baylor basketball season.
I'm
intrigued.
By no means am I saying,
no.
They could finish among the top 3 teams in the Big 12. They could win the Big 12. But it's just it's more wide open than ever. I mean, I can tell you that Colorado is not going to be any good, and that's about it, right?
They're on a winning streak against Baylor, I think. Yeah. Or did they lose? Was the home game after? I don't know.
Yeah, I called that game.
Yeah. Yes, I remember Pete was up there in Boulder calling that game. That was a brutal one to watch. I'm hoping this Baylor team is just a little more fun than last year. I mean, look, again, we're not really in a position to complain that they were only a tournament team, but it was not really a fun year. And that was a year I did think they could win the Big 12. In fact, if you had asked me at this point last year, I'd say they'll finish in the top 3. And now we're talking about, that could happen. It wouldn't floor me if they did finish in the top 3 now. So it does. It's all the way.
Hey, look, you know this about Baylor, and I hope this doesn't change. They're going to be great kids, and they're really going to represent the program well. I mean, that's something that's come. And I'm not just saying that. That's the beautiful thing about Scott Drew. That joy, Jesus, others, yourself. Baylor needs to get back to that, dude, because that's who they are, and that is you get a bunch of guys who are. It's awesome to have the lottery picks, and of course, grab one. Tunde is your guy this year, probably. Mm-hmm. But everybody, it's nice to have guys know. Not quite the hired assassins like Jeremy Roach, but maybe a guy who will, and no knock on Jeremy Roach, but maybe a guy who will get his role a little bit more and have a little bit more gratitude about, hey, let's chop wood, carry water, and do what the coach tells us, and I'm still an awesome athlete. Like those guys are out there, and Scott Drew finds them.
Could use some more Jared Butlers. Can always use some more of that, whom the Baylor Lariat did not put in their top 5 Baylor basketball players of the Scott Drew era.
All right, dude.
Somehow, if we want to get into
you're taking shots at the Lariat,
a little bit, yep,
you're
a little bit. They should know better than that.
That's not like you.
No, I have such respect for the Baylor Lariat that I refuse to say that I'm punching down Pete. This is where we're different. We're different. Just can't believe it, man. Can't believe no Jared Butler. Right. You kids keep doing what you're doing. Man. Keep doing some good work over at the Baylor Lariat. Pete, thanks so much for hopping on. We appreciate you coming on these Friday editions. I know the fans love it as well. Let us know how much you love it. Let us know how much you love having Pete on here. Let us know in the comment section below.
I love Baylor. I love Waco. So yeah, thanks, man.
All right. If I keep him on any longer, he's going to keep talking about the things he loves. Strawberry ice cream. Yeah. Let me know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like and subscribe. And finally, I can say we'll see you on the next one, which is going to be a post-game edition after the rivalry. We will see you then on Locked On Baylor.